There are 6 systems that you need to install in order to hit 100K a month in actual take-home profit. First system that you need is an anti-stress system, because you can only grow to the degree that you have the ability to actually handle and process stress. And all stress really is the conflict between wanting something to happen and the challenges and obstacles between you and that goal. And that friction can be really challenging for people to process. So you need a system to handle that type of stress. So some people meditate, some people do breath work, some people do ice baths. Everybody does their own thing. What we take our clients through is more of a logic protocol. We call it the Bulletproof Mind System, where it's essentially we take an inventory of like all the stressors, and then we have this series of self-guided tools and processes that allow them to, in 30 to 40 minutes, go in and completely transform a perspective that is currently causing them stress. So for example, afraid of everything crashing down next month, afraid of losing a client. Those things can be dissipated to where we transform that fear into very specific action items that allow them to then create protocols so that it becomes virtually impossible for them to lose a client, to have everything come crashing down. And when you do that with every little limiting belief, every fear, every doubt, every frustration, it becomes virtually impossible. Okay, wow, that's a beautiful house. Real quick, turn around. You got to see this house. This is a beautiful house. Not my house, but beautiful house. All right, let's continue. So anyway, what we do is go through this process to seek and destroy every little last negative stressor. And for me, like, I'm more of a logic guy rather than a feely breathe in, breathe out guy, where I can only really feel a dissipation in any kind of stress if I see it in a way that logically makes me go, oh yeah, that's stupid to feel that way anymore. So you need an anti-stress system. You need a process for yourself, whether it's ours or whether it's somebody else's, you need that. System number 2, you need a system to continually clarify your goals, what you're aiming at, your purpose, why you're aiming at those goals, and you need a way to chunk that back down into daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly targets so that it makes it virtually impossible to not hit those targets. And so we take our clients through a process that we get hyper specific on what those goals are, hyper specific on what the purpose, the deeper why is, and then we link them together so that instead of trying to force yourself and grind to hit your goals, you're pulled towards them. And it makes it a lot easier to follow through with the inevitable stuff that like you just don't want to do. So you need a process to continually keep that in front of you, refine those goals and refine that purpose, because it's going to change and evolve over time, and continually plan to make sure that you're doing the right things at the right time in order to make measurable progress towards those outcomes. The third system that you need is a time maximization system. Specifically, we have our clients go through a time audit system, because obviously how you spend your time determines everything. And so if you're not at the levels that you want to be at, if you're not at 100K a month profit, you're not at 50K a month profit, whatever you're trying to get to, you are spending your time on the wrong stuff. Because if you're spending time on the right stuff, you'd already have hit your goals and you wouldn't be watching this video. So we need to make sure that we take an inventory of how are we spending our time? Is that the right thing to be spending our time on? And eliminate the things that are less than our hourly rate, or delegate the things that are less than our hourly rate, and only focus our time on income generating activities and future income generating activities. Because when you only focus on those 2 types of activities, and that's what all you do, it's pretty much impossible to not make more income and more profit. So you need a system for this, and not just leave it up to how you're feeling that day. You need to be hyper aware of how you're spending your time and be very deliberate with the use of every day, every hour, every week, every month. And when you do that over a long enough time period, it pretty much becomes impossible to not make more profit. The fourth system that you need is a system to identify and eliminate recurring symptoms. Now, when I say symptoms, I'm talking about the things that you're dealing with right now that you don't want to deal with. There's a problem that is causing those symptoms. Similar to a symptom would be having a cough in your health. The problem could be you have pneumonia, you have lung cancer, you have a cold. We want to eliminate the root problem that causes the cough, not just getting really good at taking cough medicine or managing the symptoms. And so if you find yourself putting out fires and fires and fires, well, those are all symptoms. The things that you're complaining about are symptoms. And so you want a system to continually identify what the root problem is and solve it at that level. So we have a process that we take our clients through that we call the Freedom Systems process. And every time they get what we call a trigger, kind of like a zap, right? If you use Zapier, what's the trigger event? Well, it could be an objection, could be a question, right? It could be a confusion. What we want to do is we want to follow all that all the way upstream to not just what's causing the objection, but what's the belief that's causing that objection or that question. And that resource needs to be able to be found without asking a human. So this video for me is a video that I can point people to and say, hey, here's the 6 systems you need. So I don't have to explain this again. I can explain it once and it continues to work for me over time. So we have a process that we continually identify these triggers so that we can continue to create little freedom systems that basically permanently solve all of these problems at their root source so that the symptoms never actually occur. And when symptoms don't occur, you don't have to get really good at symptom management because they don't fucking occur. So we identify what is the root problem that's causing these symptoms. And that's how a lot of our clients have been able to eliminate sometimes half of their overhead because they hired all these people, they created all these systems to manage symptoms. When if we solve the root problem, none of the symptoms exist. Therefore, doubling, sometimes tripling, or even quadrupling profit. So that's the smart way, because again, profit is an efficiency metric. So if you don't have the profit that you want, you're being inefficient somewhere, all right? So next system that we need is a profit GPS system. In other words, a tracking system. Because that which is measured improves, and that which is measured and reported back improves exponentially. So most people are tracking nothing, first of all. Second of all, if somebody is tracking something, they're probably not tracking the right shit. It's probably not up to date. And if it is the right shit and it is up to date, yet you still don't have the profit that you want, you probably haven't learned how to make decisions with that data. And so we need a system that every single day, for example, I start my day with my financial tracking protocol and my business KPI tracking protocol, and I let the data tell me what to work on next. And that leads us to system number 6, is you need a decision-making system. Now, to be clear, your gut is not a decision-making system, okay? That is your gut. It is usually wrong. That's why Warren Buffett says, if you can't manage your emotions, you can't manage money. It's because most likely, if you're not where you want to be, you're making emotion-driven decisions, not data-driven decisions. There's a reason that all of the most successful companies in the world, financially successful, not they feel really vibey, but actual financially successful companies have boards of advisors, and they sit around, they look at the numbers and say, well, based on the numbers, we need to do this. They don't go, how are you feeling today, Jack? Oh, I feel a little down today. I think we should turn off fucking advertising. That doesn't happen. The reason that doesn't happen is because that's fucking dumb. So we need a decision-making system. Once we've identified what's the right bottleneck, well, now we can look at, well, if stats are up, we do this. If stats are flat, we do this. If stats are down, we do this. And we want to be able to look at this over a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis so that we can make educated, smart decisions and focus on the right things and apply the right protocol for when stats are up. So for example, when stats are up in a given area, what most people do is they forget what made them go up, and then they stop doing that or get a brilliant idea, change something, and they wonder why stats went down. Then they see an ad that says, hey, are you not getting enough book calls? Try this brand new funnel strategy. When the reality is, if they just kept doing what they were doing when stats were up, they'd have as many book calls as they want and as many clients as they want. It becomes a numbers game at that point. So what we need to do is something like we take our clients through, and that is create what I call your record month formula. So every time client has a record month, every time I have a record month, I document what exactly caused it. Every area, from marketing to sales to operations to systems to who's on the team, what's your strategy, what are you doing personally. All of that needs to be documented so that inevitably when stats go down, we can go, what did we stop doing that we were doing when things were crushing it? Or what did we start doing that we weren't doing when things were crushing it? Maybe we should stop that. So if you don't have the objective data to look at to see the effect of your actions in real number form, not like, oh, it feels like ads are performing better, but objectively they're performing better, right? We need to be able to look at that and see, did my hypothesis actually create real measurable, tangible data that backs up us continuing this activity or stopping this activity? So if you have those 6 systems, you pretty much are able to keep yourself calm, focused, and in control. And inevitably, if you're calm, focused, and in control, and you know what to focus on, you don't get thrown off, you don't get so stressed out by people that fuck stuff up or things breaking, and you have all of these protocols in place, you're living a pretty stress-free existence with as much or as little profit and as much or as little work as you want. And it has to be deliberate and designed. So if you want to learn more about what that looks like, find me on Instagram, DM me the word bulletproof. My system will send you all the information and we'll go from there. Or you could just watch the next video that YouTube has lined up for you right here.